Friends, welcome to the podcast series of the School of Fish Strategy Consulting. The topic for today's conversation is the power of positive words and strategic transformations. We have two virtual experts, Mike and Amy, to share their thoughts on the topic based on the research work of Professor Dr. Senthil Kumar. We hope you will find the conversations inspiring and enlightening. Explore new frontiers in your transformative journey with empowering words. Thanks for joining.
We spend so much time focused on, org charts, quarterly earnings, all that stuff when we talk about big business changes. But have you ever really thought about what the true, maybe invisible engine of change is? The thing that actually moves people. And, well, billions of dollars. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty fundamental. The transformative power of positive words in strategic and organizational change. We're exploring how the language we choose, things like axioms, stories, metaphors, doesn't just, describe reality. It can actually help create it.
That's exactly right. And this isn't just speculation. This deep dive is really grounded in some fascinating, award-winning research by Professor Dr. Senthil Kumar. He asks this fundamental question: how does the way managers talk stop just describing the world and actually start, building the blueprint for a new one? The heart of our discussion today comes from his paper, Power of Positive Words, Strategic and Organizational Change. It was published in the Journal of Organizational Change Management, a top-tier journal. And our mission really is to show you how this linguistic communication, this careful use of words, isn't just fluff, it's a core capability. It's a tool that can genuinely transform organizations, cultures, and yes, even individuals from the inside out.
So language is a force multiplier then, moving beyond just, the strategy document itself to how it gets truly internalized and, acted upon by everyone.
Exactly.
We've all been there. You're sitting in some corporate meeting, you're staring at a poster on the wall with the company's mission statement, and you're thinking, does any of this stuff actually matter? Well, what if I told you that the right words, said at the right time, can do way more than just fill up a poster? What if I told you they can literally build empires? Today, we're going to dive into the surprising and scientifically proven power of words to shape our reality. And let's be real, this is where most of our minds go, right? Straight to skepticism. I mean, how many times have you heard some new corporate slogan and just rolled your eyes? We're all kind of conditioned to think of it as empty corporate speak, just words on a wall. Exactly. This pretty much sums it up. Talk is cheap, we've all heard it, we all know it. We're taught from day one that actions speak louder than words, and that words are, they're just fluff. But here's the big question. What if that's not just a little wrong, but fundamentally wrong? What if the words themselves are the action that kicks everything off?
So, let's put that old saying to the test with some really fascinating science. It's time to move past the cynicism and actually look at the data. Data that shows how language can be the engine, the very blueprint for incredible transformation.
Okay, so here's the core idea, the big takeaway for today. Words aren't just passive labels we stick on things. Nope, they are active tools. They literally build the world we see and the culture we live in. And this isn't some philosophical debate either. Organizational science has shown that the stories, the metaphors, the slogans a company uses can literally construct a brand new reality for everyone working there. And look, this isn't just a cool theory I came up with. This whole explainer is based on the award-winning research of Dr. Senthil Kumar. His work, published in a major academic journal, found a direct, powerful link between positive communication and successful change. He basically proved that when you do it right, language isn't just a nice to have, it's the main event, it's the driver.
And what makes this research so powerful is the scale. Dr. Kumar surveyed 174 management professionals, and these weren't all from one company. They were from a huge range of industries. So what we're seeing here isn't a one-off fluke. It's a pattern that holds up across the board.
And to really grasp this power, we need to start right at the foundation. The source material, interestingly, draws on a very old idea, referencing scripture. In the beginning was the Word. Now, regardless of your beliefs, the point is that words lay the groundwork for all our thought systems. They're absolutely central to how we construct the subjective realities that give our lives meaning. And crucially, words represent the cognitive capacity that really sets humans apart. So for a collective, like an organization, consistent positive communications become the raw material. They shape collective thoughts, drive behaviors, and ultimately foster progress, change, and ideally, success.
Okay, if words are the foundation, you mentioned tools like metaphors and axioms. How do those work? Let's take an example, maybe like the concept of affinity. How does language expand that?
That's a great example. Think about all the words we have for connection: love, compassion, kindness, fraternity, solidarity. Each term isn't just a synonym, it adds a slightly different dimension, right? These nuances form the basis for our values, our associations. They build a richer cognitive landscape around that core idea of connection.
So words expand our capacity to think about something. And managers use specific tools to harness this.
Precisely. The research highlights two really powerful tools managers use, often without even fully realizing their impact: metaphors and axioms. Metaphors use figurative language. They're not literal, but they evoke specific qualities or feelings. Think about simple phrases like life is a dance, or maybe life is an adventure. They're not just, nice sayings. Life is a dance might stimulate what the research calls aesthetic keenness, an appreciation for flow, adaptability. Life is an adventure fosters an inclination toward risk-taking, encouraging boldness. They transfer complex feelings, complex intentions instantly, much faster than, say, a dense report.
Right, and axioms. Those short, punchy sayings.
Axioms are like cognitive turbochargers. They create this magnify emphasis. Think about a manager saying, this idea could revolutionize everything, or looking back and saying, the iPod reinvented an entire industry. They're powerful, memorable declarations that frame perception.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, especially for managers trying to lead change or innovation. If you're launching something totally new, you often don't have the spreadsheet data to prove it'll work, right? So how do you convince people?
Exactly. You can't rely on quantitative proof for something truly novel, at least not initially. This is where figurative communication becomes crucial. You use these provocative axioms, these compelling metaphors, to sensitize managerial cognition, to make the new possibility feel urgent, feel real, feel necessary, even before the hard data rolls in.
So it's like priming the pump, getting people ready to accept the new reality.
It's exactly that. It's about replacing the old mental furniture, the old assumptions, with new aspirational furniture. It prepares the ground for change.
Let's make this concrete. I know the research highlights some really powerful case studies that show this isn't just theory. Let's start with Samsung.
Samsung. Yes, their story is practically a business school legend now, isn't it? They transformed from what observers called a sluggish domestic company churning out vast quantities of cheap products to becoming recognized as one of the world's leading, most innovative global brands. A massive shift. And the spark, the catalyst for this huge transformation about 2 decades ago, it reportedly came down to a single, incredibly striking axiom. It was pronounced by the former chairman Lee Kun-hee. During a critical planning meeting, he apparently said, "Change everything except your wife and children."
Wow. That is stark, uncompromising, and definitely memorable. It's like a metaphor wrapped in a direct order. But wait a minute, change everything. Doesn't that risk just, complete chaos, burnout, maybe destroying the company culture? How did that specific phrasing, that exception, help manage such a massive change?
That's the absolute genius of it as a management tool, you see. By adding that specific exception, except your wife and children, he immediately established a boundary, a safe zone. It signaled that the core values, the foundation, things like family, loyalty, perhaps the bedrock principles of the company, were not under threat. So it gave permission, even a mandate, to ruthlessly examine and change all the operational systems, the business practices, the products, everything functional. But it did so while protecting the human core, the internal morale. It turned what could have been a terrifying, uncontrolled implosion into more of a guided demolition and reconstruction, focused transformation.
Incredible. So the exception was as important as the rule itself. And this isn't a one-off phenomenon, right? Let's look at Tata Consultancy Services, TCS. Your story shows how a repeated slogan can rally a whole global workforce.
That's right. The former CEO of TCS, Ramadorai, talked about their big organizational change campaign. They centered it around the slogan, "Experience certainty." But here's the key. They didn't just, put it on a few posters and hope for the best. They were relentless. It was everywhere. Bulletin boards, banners, ads, sure. But also things like telephone hold jingles, computer login screens, constant reinforcement.
Okay, experience certainty. It sounds good, but how does a slogan like that actually translate into, say, better quality control or outperforming competitors? What's the psychological bridge there? Is it just good marketing?
It's deeper than just marketing, according to the analysis. That pervasive repetition, that constant exposure, led to really deep internalization by employees. The certainty theme directly boosted morale and, importantly, pride. People felt they were part of something focused, reliable, high quality, and that feeling translated directly into behavior. TCS employees actively started working to deliver certainty in their projects, in their quality, in their results. They believed the word, and then they started to embody it. And this helped them significantly outperform industry averages on quality metrics.
Believing the word and then embodying it, that's powerful. And we can't talk about this without mentioning 3M, can we? The research holds them up as a classic example of a culture shaped by positive communication, especially around innovation.
Absolutely. 3M is famous for fostering innovation, and one of the key elements is what they apparently call the 11th commandment, which is, "Thou shalt not kill a new product idea." A very clear positive axiom protecting experimentation.
But an axiom alone isn't enough, is it?
No, and that's a crucial point the source material makes. 3M pairs this linguistic commitment with supportive actions and, significantly, stories. They actively celebrate and share stories about their innovation heroes, and they also tell stories about instructive failures. The famous example is the material for a ribbon that failed, then became a plastic cup that failed, but eventually found success as a safety face mask.
So the stories make the axiom real. They demonstrate that failure isn't punished, it's actually seen as a necessary step on the path to success. It's that combination, the positive rule plus the tangible examples, the anecdotes, that really shifts the risk tolerance and empowers people across the company.
Exactly. And if we zoom out from these specific companies and connect these organizational axioms to the bigger picture, we see that this pattern, using powerful language to drive change, isn't new. It's defined leadership throughout history. Words shape socio-economic and political systems just as profoundly as they shape corporate cultures.
Right. And the common thread seems to be generating that deep emotional buy-in. You need that for any real change, whether it's, reorganizing a department or, frankly, founding a nation. Mahatma Gandhi captured this perfectly, didn't he? He said, "A small body of determined spirits fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission can alter the course of history." That unquenchable faith, it doesn't just appear. It's often ignited and sustained by a shared, positive vision articulated through powerful words.
Precisely. And Dr. Kumar's research draws parallels with other historical wisdom to show this continuity. Think of Aristotle's foundational maxim for ethics. Noblest is the justest. Sets a standard, doesn't it? Or Nelson Mandela offering hope against overwhelming odds. It always seems impossible until it is done, instills resilience. And Swami Vivekananda's famous call to action that resonated deeply in India. Arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. A powerful motivator for collective effort.
What's striking is that these historical quotes, these powerful sayings, they serve the exact same psychological function as a modern corporate slogan like "experience certainty." They generate those crucial positive feelings: hope, excitement, maybe determination, inspiration. These emotions are essential to build consensus around a new vision, convincing people that the struggle of change is worth aiming for that seemingly impossible goal.
Okay, so we've heard the compelling stories, the historical parallels. Now, let's pivot slightly to the empirical proof from Dr. Senthil Kumar's research. Because he didn't just rely on anecdotes. The study actually validated these ideas by surveying 174 management professionals. These were people who had recently experienced major organizational changes, things like big restructurings, re-engineering projects, that sort of thing.
Right, the stories are powerful, but did the hard data actually back up this idea? Does positive language have a genuinely measurable impact on change success?
It absolutely does. The statistical analysis, specifically multivariate regression, confirmed two key hypotheses, H1 and H2 in the paper. First, it showed that positive communication has a significant, measurable transformational effect on the individual. It boosts their inspiration, their learning orientation, and crucially, their emotional buy-in to the change. People feel more included, more capable, more willing. And second, beyond the individual, the data showed positive communication also has a significant transformational effect on the organization as a whole. How? By helping to resolve conflicts more effectively, by overcoming the natural resistance to change that always pops up, and ultimately by contributing to successful strategy implementation. So it's not just about feeling good, it directly impacts operational success and reduces friction during tough transitions.
Okay, so the data confirms the impact. But what does this really mean for, say, a manager listening right now, planning their next initiative? What's the underlying mechanism? How do these positive words actually work inside the culture to shift behavior?
That's the critical question, isn't it? The research went deeper by analyzing the content of the narratives shared by those managers in the survey. What specific stories, what axioms did they remember and associate with successful change? And this content analysis revealed the mechanism. Essentially, positive communication works because it diffuses critical social, cognitive, or emotional attributes throughout the organization. The analysis found distinct clusters of these attributes were really prominent in the stories of successful change. Things like commitment, trust, optimism, courage, and learning. So managers need to understand this. The right positive words act like vehicles. They carry and spread these vital attributes, embedding them into the company's DNA, making them part of the shared culture.
That's the practical takeaway right there, isn't it? For leaders, for managers, your words aren't just conveying information. Your discourse, the way you talk about things, needs to actively nurture a climate of, dialogue. And you need to consciously provide those positive words, the slogans, the stories, the metaphors that act as anchors, as sources of motivation, inspiration, and ultimately the foundation for the strong organizational culture you're trying to build or maintain. So wrapping up this deep dive, I think the main finding from Dr. Kumar's extensive research is pretty undeniable. These positive words, these metaphors, these organizational stories, they're not just corporate fluff or some optional soft skill. They are a measurable core organizational capability. They are absolutely essential for driving innovation and managing successful strategic transformation.
Couldn't agree more. And the final piece of practical guidance for you listening is perhaps the most potent. It's not enough to just say the positive words. If managers and leaders actually enact them, if their actions consistently align with the axioms and the vision they articulate, that's when they can achieve missions and goals that might otherwise seem completely impossible. You have to live the language. Walk the talk, as they say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Live the language. Okay, here's a final provocative thought for you to maybe chew on as you think about applying this. We focused heavily on the power of linguistic communication, the words themselves. But the source material also hints that visual symbols and images might complement these verbal metaphors. So if words can reshape reality, how might the visual elements organizations use? Think about logos, office design, the imagery, and their advertising. How might those also be consciously orchestrated to trigger learning, shape culture, and drive change? What visual metaphors do you see transforming the organizations you interact with every day? Something to think about. That brings us to the end of this deep dive.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others do.